Welcome back to the Garden Guys. As always, it's me, Peaches. We are here with another Black Rose episode. We are going to do part 2 of the Gypsy Rose story. Last week, we ended with, "I'm starting to feel relaxed, don't hurt me." Those are the last words that Gypsy said that her mother said to her after they spent a day of painting each other's nails, going grocery shopping, and they had a little bit of a spat, and that was why Dee Dee said that. Her feelings were hurt by Gypsy. Disclaimer for this episode, we are going to be talking about death. We're going to talk about causes of death. And there, I believe, are also mentions of grape. I'm not sure if we're at that part yet. This whole case is a lot to take in. So, to preface, a few days prior to the murder, Dee Dee and Gypsy had an argument. I believe I mentioned that last episode. The argument was specifically about getting Gypsy's feeding tube removed. Gypsy said, "Mom, I don't need the tube anymore. I can very clearly feed myself." Dee Dee was not having it. When you think about it, the feeding tube gave Dee Dee unlimited access to Gypsy's body. She was able to put medications into her. She was able to control what she ate, if she ate. And if she wanted Gypsy unconscious, she could give her the medication to just have her fall asleep. So we're going to start this episode with text messages between Gypsy and Nick. These are from June 9th into the 10th. So there is some confusion on my end when the murder actually took place. On, for example, the Dr. Phil interview, he said June 9th. And then in court and in some of other Gypsy's interviews, she said June 10th. From my understanding, 3 a.m., June 10th is when it happened. I have, like I said, text messages. The text messages are from different sources, and from all the sources, the dates are different. So the text messages I am using are from the text messages that were presented in the court during, I believe it was Nick Godejohn's court hearing. So, June 9th at 8:35 p.m., Gypsy texts Nick saying, "Also, before I get into the text messages, I want to just kind of give a rundown of this episode. A lot of this is going to be text messages, news articles, so little snippets that I had to pull out. So I was looking for Sheriff Jim Arnett, I believe his name is. I have it written down somewhere. Yep. Jim Arnett. He was Arnott, Arnott. He was the sheriff who made the statement that things aren't always as they seem. And I was trying to find that debriefing, I suppose you could call it, and I could not find footage of it anywhere. I couldn't find any articles of what he said verbatim. So a lot of the quotations that I have are from news outlets, snippets of things that he has said. I have interviews with neighbors. So this is kind of just going to be the rundown of the text messages, what the police found, the panic that ensued, and then going into the third part of this, we're going to start looking at interviews, and we're going to start piecing together what happened through their words, through their versions. I hope you guys enjoy how this goes down. So June 9th at 7:20 a.m. from Gypsy. "Hun, does he require just the gloves and knife?" He, meaning Victor. The days prior, when they decided after their argument, or Gypsy and her mother's argument about the feeding tube, she texted Nick and was like, "I'm ready." And he said, "Hun, you're going to have to ask Victor." So she texts Victor, "Will you please kill my mother for me because I can't do it myself?" So whenever there is communication about the murder that's going to happen, Nick speaks in third person, telling Gypsy that you need to consult with Victor about all of this. I'm not a part of this. I can't stomach it. Nick responds with, "Hun, that side of me expects duct tape to muffle her." "Okay, baby, we have that. I'll pre-cut it." 7:25 a.m. from Nick. "Dear, I should ask you before he has to. Is your mom a light or deep sleeper?" "Light sleeper." "Okay, dear. Now he's excited." Let's just pause there. Later on to this episode, we are going to go over some of the things that his mother, Stephanie, said in her interview with the police. And something she is very adamant about is that Nick is not a violent person. Just that text message, okay, dear, now he's excited. That means that he is excited that Dee Dee is going to wake up in the middle of him attacking her. That is an absolutely terrifying thought. And to be so numb, you don't view the person you're killing as a human at that point. That is just a means for you to satisfy or satiate the need within Nick. Heebie-jeebies. From Gypsy, the bitch gonna go down tonight, Ruby said. Nick, how does Ruby feel about it? She keeps me numb in order to cope and survive, hun. And that's what Gypsy said back. Continuing on June 9th, 8:35 p.m., I left the gloves outside the front door, and the screen door is squeaky, so try to open it just enough to get in and close it gently. I'll hand him the knife and the duct tape inside, darling. It's pre-cut and ready. So once again, I'll hand him the knife and the duct tape. She's referring to Victor. I know, I'm fully aware that multiple personality disorder is a thing. There are people with associative identity disorder. Dissociative? DID. Does Nick have that, though? I couldn't imagine carrying on a conversation, plotting the murder of my mother, and in all of that, having to speak to one person as if they were multiple people. And to be able to discern who I'm speaking to. And it's all through text message. So how does she know she's texting Victor? Like, hey, does Victor have a second? 9:08 p.m. from Gypsy. She took her sleep aid pill. Nick, okay, baby, I'm trying to calculate the money for the ride there. Gypsy, and once you're inside the house, we stay silent, not even a whisper until after I open the bathroom door. From Nick, never underestimate his will to kill. There is a out of touch of reality. There, the disassociation that Nick is having from Victor, the one who's going to do the act. He never underestimate his will to kill. You're Victor. This seems almost as if it's a trauma response, right? His brain is separating Nick from the evil thoughts within himself, and he's created a whole nother persona to continue to live these evil thoughts that he has. It's a lot to process. 10:09 p.m. Nick, okay, dear, but when he gets you from the bathroom, I suggest you are naked when he sees you after the deed. So, there are more text messages later on. There are more things that come out in interviews and whatnot about Victor's expectations of Gypsy after the murder. One of those things is that he expected her to be dolled up. He requested red lipstick and red nail polish. I want you to look like my woman after I kill your mom. Gypsy doesn't have those colors, so they settled on pink nail polish and pink lip gloss. And from my understanding, that pink nail polish was applied earlier that day with her mother while they were doing their nails. That's an assumption that was never said. Makes sense to me, though. 11:26 p.m. From my understanding, these were the last text messages exchanged. From Nick. Baby, there is no other option. He is going to finish her no matter what. That is how he is. From Gypsy. Okay, darling. He is brave. I respect and admire that. Smiley face. But after, we comfort each other. From Nick. After we do that, sweetheart, I'll hold you like the baby girl of mine that you are. Heart emoji. It's a lot to take in. And there's more text messages. I've thought about getting like a Sherlock Holmes outfit My days have become reading the Bible, doing mom shit, regular podcast, and murder mystery. And in compiling things for murder mystery, I'm deep diving so much more than I ever would have deep dived, right? I have found message exchanges between Nick and somebody else, the name has not been released, talking about Gypsy a year prior to the murder being planned. I had no idea that was a thing, but I found it, and we're going to talk about it in the third episode. Just having all of this unravel and having a deeper understanding of reality as an adult, hearing about the Gypsy Rose story almost 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I had a different mindset. Seeing the detachment in everything that they do, they had living with this for the rest of their life. It's wild. So, known to us, that was the last text message exchange, 11:26 p.m., June 9th. Flash forward, June 14th, 2015, at 32 p.m., a post appears on Gypsy's and Dee Dee's shared Facebook page that says, "That bitch is dead." Bitch is capitalized. Exclamation point. Some of the comments that ensued. What's going on? What? Did your Facebook get hacked? I have never heard you talk like that. Sounds like you're watching a movie. And then another comment within the comments of that "the bitch is dead" post. There is another post made from the DD Gyp account that says, "I fucking slashed that fat pig and her sweet innocent daughter. Her scream was so fucking loud. LOL," in all caps. Comments after that. D, what's wrong? That's not D. Should someone notify the local police? This sounds scary. Yes, I think someone should report this. I'll call now. Does anyone know the address? Please PM me. So, we have an image of Gypsy and Dee Dee now because we are aware of the fraud. We are aware of the trauma, of the abuse that happens, of Dee Dee being mentally ill, when that was still all in the shadows. And all we had in front of us was a mother and a disabled daughter who was wheelchair bound, who had leukemia. Dee Dee was convincing everybody that she was not going to live to be an adult. These Facebook posts are being made. Absolutely terrifying. This is also 4 days after the murder had taken place. I just want to interject real quick before we continue reading. I tried finding Dee Dee's autopsy report. I tried to find the original 911 call. A lot of those things, Sheriff Jim Arnott's debriefing of things are not always as they seem. I cannot find them anywhere. I can't find transcripts. I can't find news media footage. I can't find articles written about it. I mean, I can find articles written about it, but there's not much verbatim. Of course, it's all the media fluffed dramatizations. Just wanted to note that because it's something I did want to include. Could not be found. Neighbors Kim and Dave see the Facebook posts. They go to the house and no one answers. In the driveway is their new car, according to Gypsy. It was a Nissan Cube. It was black. Kim and Dave walked the perimeter. After not getting a response, they knocked on doors, tried windows. They called 911. From my understanding, the phone call was made at 3 a.m. Or the police showed up at 3 a.m. Either or, it was late night when the cops showed up. So they called for a wellness check on a disabled mother and daughter. Those were the words of Kim. Police show up June 14th, 2015, to the pink house at the end of the cul-de-sac. Upon approaching the house, they see the door is a soft powdered blue color. It complements the pink rather nice, in my opinion. Upon entering the house, it's complete disarray. The first room of the house is also painted pink, and it's messy. There are piles of clutter all over the house. They're almost like there's walkways to get to where they need to go. Walking into the house, you can see the kitchen directly. Along the wall of the kitchen, there are things piled. 12 packs, cases of water. It looks like there's some miscellaneous trash. A Pepsi 6-pack just kind of haphazardly sitting there. And that's the kind of clutter that's around the house. Surveying the rest of the room, there's a couch that you cannot sit on. There's a hamper, a pile of clothes, what looks to be plastic that was ripped off of a 24-pack of water just sitting there, and there's a few of them. There's 2 or 3 boxes stacked at the edge of the couch where a person could sit, but it's currently home to the boxes. There's also big black trash bags, like 50-gallon trash bags filled with things. And it doesn't look to be trash. It looks to be, you know how you make a Goodwill run and you just throw things into a bag and you haul it off? It looks like that. Like there could be stuffed animals or clothing or miscellaneous household items in there. Venturing into the rest of the house, in one of the bedrooms, I wasn't certain whose room this was. Gypsy had her own room and Dee Dee also had her own room. There was a mini fridge. And on top of that mini fridge was empty Gatorade bottles, empty water bottles, just all collectively sitting there. There's a little bit of trash sitting near the refrigerator. And then there's a dresser. And in front of this dresser it looks like maybe a VCR tape or a VCR. A lot of cables. Random electronics piled in front of the dresser so you can't access the 2 bottom drawers. Trash sitting on top of the dresser. Going into Gypsy's room, it's very childish. It's fairy tale-like. It's pink. She has a cartoon frog with a crown hanging on the wall. On the 4 posts of her bed is wrapped with vines and flowers. That in and of itself is not childlike. The room accumulated on top of everything, the cartoon frog, and she has piles of stuffed animals on her bed. It looks like a little girl's bedroom. There is also a pile of clothes and doll toys, like baby dolls and like the little carrier for your baby doll. All of that's just kind of piled up by the front of her bed. So there's a little walkway for her to climb into bed, and there's just this pile. Very reminiscent of like the beginning stages of really bad hoarding. There wasn't food lying around that I could see. It was just clutter everywhere. Behind a pile in the living room of Halloween buckets, there were Christmas decorations like tinsel, maybe like an aluminum lunchbox that looked broken that had a snowman on it. There was a empty Dr. Pepper 12-pack just sitting there, ripped open, along with an amalgamation of miscellaneous articles of clothing. There was that infamous Gypsy Rose painting of her with the princess outfit on and the tiara, which in one of the earlier interviews of them first moving into their house, you can see it hanging perfectly on the wall. And that's the only thing on the wall is that painting of Gypsy. That painting is now sitting on top of a pile of clutter and garbage. Typically, in a household, we have medicine cabinets. Now I have a medicine cabinet in the kitchen right next to the microwave where all the kids' sick goodies are. Majority of households are that way. This household was not. Dee Dee had a medicine closet. And looking into this medicine closet, it's pretty intense. It's decently organized, unlike the rest of the house. There are boxes stacked. There are those very large orange medicine bottles. You know the ones. There are 8 of them neatly in a row. It looks very well kept.